So, welcome everybody to this Sheep's Meat Robocraft in person, and today I am joined by my favourite man crush in Robocraft, Ryan the VXF guy. Say hello, Ryan.
Hello guys, thank you very much. Don't flatter me too much.
Well, we'll see. And we're also joined here by Baren, MineBrine, and Kyle. Say hello, guys.
Hello.
So they'll be
Hello.
babysitting us as me and Shep try to do the absolute impossible, which is talk while playing. And there goes the MP. That should hopefully make things more difficult. So yes, give us an introduction. What do you do? What do you do, Ryan?
Well, I'm in charge of all things pretty and explosive. So I've worked on, like I said, the EMP Ghost module, did some work on the Blink module. I redid the Aeroflak explosions, plasma explosion. I did the new carbon plasma explosions. I reworked the rails. Anything weapon related is pretty much my field, and all the modules.
Very good, very good. So yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people are really enjoying the way this looks and feels of this new beta mode. And yeah, you know, really kudos to you guys in the art department. And so what's your favourite thing? What was the favourite thing that you worked on?
Probably the it's close between the explosion for the equalizer, the plutonium core, and the shader that was on it, because you don't get to see it that much, but the actual shader is quite complex on the plutonium core. And the new supernova explosion as well, just trying to amp that up a bit.
The supernova explosion? Ah, yeah, the thing at the end, the annihilator. Ah, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that is quite cool. Yeah, we'll have to have a look at the equalizer when it pops up in about 3 minutes. No doubt we can hold out that long, I hope. No, it's very difficult to talk and play. So what's the secret? What makes a good VFX? That's what I want to know. Timing?
Timing.
What do you mean?
Yeah. Because, I mean, a perfect example is the new Zelda Breath of the Wild game has some fantastic visual effects, but they're extremely simplistic. So it's about getting the punch correct, and getting the, you know, really selling the impact. So it's a good example of that is the protonite core. When it explodes, you get this big pulse outwards. It maintains the ball for a while as it's sort of pulsating, and there's the electric energy, and then all of a sudden it just swoops back in, and almost immediately after it's encroached on itself, it just disappears. And getting that sort of the timing right between the several stages is
there's
something
also a
that's the
camera
hardest
shake,
thing to do, I find.
I think, yeah, that sort of wave.
Yes.
I like that. I was playing around with footage of that earlier and I noticed it. I was like, oh yeah. Oh, the plutonium core thing's coming. There we go.
We should probably rush that.
Can I EMP it? Would that do anything? Oh,
It doesn't,
well,
I'm
maybe when
afraid.
it explodes, I'll time the EMP so then we get full glory of your effects all at once.
So yeah, the more you the plutonium core fills up from bottom to top as white.
Yep.
It's sort of like a progress bar as you're charging the crystal, and the more damaged it is, it cracks, and then these sort of god rays of light come out of the cracks, and then at some point it finally explodes, sending a beam of energy up into
Yep,
the
hopefully
atmosphere.
I'll get there if these guys don't shoot me first. Oh, no, this would have been perfect film footage, but these guys are very inconsiderate and they're going to shoot me. 12 seconds, guys, somebody kill it. Oh dear. Hasn't got much left. Anybody would do. There we go, well done.
Got it.
Oh yeah, we can see that beam, that's very nice.
The master controls his creation.
Hacks, dev hacks. So you also worked on the base shield? Which is now just gone down. I was going to show that. I love the little electric effects that come out.
Oh yeah, the lightning coming down from the top. It's actually just a single texture with some very clever use of masks. But it looks like crawling
does, yeah.
lightning. I worked on the shader for the sort of the wireframe kite cage around the new capture points.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Sort of the area that you can capture it within.
Yep,
That's going to be GG, I think.
Talking and playing never works.
And here comes the supernova.
There we go. Ah, and there you are, Shep. Got a nice picture of you as it happened behind you. Very good.
Yeah.
So, welcome back everybody. In the break, Ryan was just telling me about the challenges. So yes, what are the challenges? What is the most difficult thing about VFX?
Well, for us, I would say one of the biggest challenges is getting things to look as good as possible with minimal performance impact, because a lot of our audience can be younger, you know, as young as sort of 13, 14, who don't often have dedicated PC rigs. So they're running on their mum's laptop or whatever, and getting effects to look as good as I can and also have minimal impact so that everyone can play the game is quite a challenge.
Yeah, I can imagine. So do you have to do some sort of like internal mathematics with these things? Can you quantify it, or is it sort of a qualitative sort of way of...
It's also well, one of it is within the shaders for the effects, you know, trying to minimize the amount of textures you use and finding clever ways to reuse textures, and using sort of mathematics like multiplying two textures together to create a third texture as opposed to physically loading a third texture. So sort of manipulating the textures using mathematics and vectors and stuff, and then just finding a sort of, as I said earlier, it's often the simplest effects that look the best, so just finding a way to create something that has a nice flow to it but uses as fewer particles as possible. A perfect example of this is when you capture one of the new points in BA, you get a pulse that goes across the floor from the inside to the outside, and then 5 rings that ascend from the furthermost edges upwards vertically. Right. And that's all it is. It's just 1 ring outwards and 5 rings upwards, but it lets you know that the color has changed, and it's quite a good indicator of what is happening.
Okay, cool. Well, I certainly appreciate these kind of efforts, because I'm not my mum's toaster, but yeah.
And the other artists like Hannah and Rick and Hannes as well have really tried to increase the visual quality of the new maps, because obviously I'm not a environment artist. And also we've worked on changing how the lighting system works, so we've still kept all the nice shadows and stuff, especially on this map.
Oh yeah, you can see it with the trees. Yeah, it's really nice.
But reduce the overhead that it has on your graphics card or processor.
Sorry, I'm just looking at the shadows now. Yeah, some good shadows there. Gotta love some shadows. Well, now you've got all this topography, there's lots of things to have shadows now, which is good.
Yes.
I really appreciate that.
Thank you. I suppose that leads me on to another challenge as well, which is having stuff that looks good but isn't so crazy that it obstructs gameplay.
Oh yeah.
You still want to be able to tell where all your shots are going in the middle of an EMP, or while you're capturing a base.
Yeah, that is a bit difficult. I noticed that with the plasma actually. I'm being bombarded by plasma, I just give up because I'm like, I can't see anything. Sometimes, not all the time, but then I guess too much of any weapon because I'm getting shot all the time. Doesn't really matter.
Yeah, we've been working on increasing the loading distance, which is the distance at which high poly meshes are swapped out for lower poly meshes. So you can maximize the amount of stuff that's on screen without having too many polygons on screen at the same time.
One question I always wanted to ask, but I don't have the module here, is about the ghost. How do you go about making something invisible? Big cough. This is going to be a long answer.
There's several parts to it, and one of the issues I've recently fixed was the fact that we use refraction, which is the bending of light, in order to distort an invisible body, so you have like some chance of seeing it. We don't make it completely invisible. We make it invisible, and then we sort of bend the UVs of the mesh to make it have a slight shimmer to it, so you can kind of tell when something's near you.
Right. Yeah.
And the hardest part is on the lower quality settings. The refraction, which is the light bending, is disabled, which would make something 100% invisible, completely invisible. So we had to make a separate version which makes the lower quality settings slightly darker, so they have a slightly darker outline, so they're still visible ever so slightly without using refraction, which is a more of a sort of beautification approach.
Okay, I think I follow. Yeah.
But essentially, yeah, we hide all of the cubes at the same time, and then give them a, because I'm trying not to simplify it too much, because I don't know how much you know about 3D and 2D stuff and vertices and polygons. Okay, well, every time you apply a texture to something in 3D, you have to use something called UV coordinates. Because we can't use X, Y, and Z, because X, Y, and Z make up the 3D space of the game.
Right.
So in order to use 2D coordinates, we use U and V. And that's basically, if you imagine a 2D picture, the four corners of the picture are between 0 and 1. So the bottom left corner of the picture is 0, 0, and the top right of the corner is 1, 1. And what I do is I manipulate these coordinates by sort of twisting them and bending them in order to change the way the material looks, and that's how we get this sort of wobbly, invisible effect, is by essentially bending an image.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah, yeah.
So we apply a 2D image to a 3D model, and then I bend that image with like a sort of sine wave up and down motion, which is sort of like a water ripple effect.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
And that's how somebody is invisible, but they have that slight glimmer that you can see them.
As much as I appreciate your flak animation, bloody annoying to die to it all the time.
Yeah. Apologies. I don't know if you noticed at all, but the ball becomes spikier the more times it's stacked on you.
No, did not know that. Huh.
So yeah, if you watch the first hit and the 10th hit, the ball has more and more spikes to it, the more aggressive and the more damage that it does.
Yes, spiky. Just saw it.
So again, it's it doesn't always go noticed, but it's little things like that. So the spikier the ball, the more damage it's doing. It's little things like that we have to consider as visual language as well as just looking impressive.
Yeah, a lot of the things that go into this game I think are so subtle that people really don't appreciate it, or at least don't think about it, that they would notice if it wasn't there, So what else have you worked on, just out of interest?
I worked on some of the NASCAR games. The American ring racing.
Mm-hmm.
I worked on a free-to-play racing game called Auto Club Revolution.
Okay, can't say I heard of it.
And I worked on Warhammer 40k.
Oh yay, I like Warhammer. I haven't actually played this one.
I worked on Storm of Vengeance, which was a cross-platform mobile title, so you could be on Android or iOS or PC and all play against each other.
Ooh.
And it's a kind of a Warhammer-themed lane defense. It's kind of like Plants vs Zombies, but more complex.
Okay.
So that was quite interesting. Also, I'm a big Warhammer fan myself, so when I heard the news that I'd be working on 40k
that must have
for
been
an
a fanboy moment.
For an official IP, yeah. And then, for reference, we had thousands of pounds of Warhammer in the office, so everybody had about 20 models around their desks.
Nice.
So that's quite crazy.
That's pretty cool. Oh, I miss those
But
days.
that was quite fun to work on.
I spent
And obviously the effects are more sort of gritty and down to earth. So it's a different art style.
Yeah.
But it was good fun.
Yeah, I used to spend all my pocket money on that back in the days. Let's have a look at this awesome effect. And boom.
Barentoeter behind.
Nice.
The first effect I ever worked on Robocraft was reworking the rails.
Oh yes, with a nice little spin and smoke thing.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, I remember how the old one used to be, and it was pretty much just like a elongated SMG.
Tesla's coming in again.
Good defense, and I have mid.
Yes,
Nice,
good
good
job.
job.
And that guy just looks a bit
Nice
stupid. It's like, oh, where did it go? So you were telling me about the choice of the field of view of the end explosion, the Annihilator, because I think I saw many people commenting that they thought that there should be further out the field of view. So yeah, what was the thought process that went into that?
Well, initially with the old explosion, the camera was much higher, but we felt that detracted from sort of the impact of the explosion, and you never felt like you were there. I mean, you got a greater sense of the scale, but you didn't get to see the impact that the explosion had and the sort of the sense of the explosion as a player. So we lowered the camera angle, put it down in between the cover of either side of your spawn. And then when the explosion goes off and the dust kicks up, the sheer power of the explosion sort of launches a surge of dust past your head and rushing past the camera. And it gives you a sense of the power that's gone behind this explosion. But that's not the last thing we're doing. It was just sort of a really good starting point, because obviously all these things require iteration and lots of work. You can never get it right on the first go. So there's definitely more work that's going to be done to it, and I think it's going to really, really help sell the explosion, and it's going to make it feel really epic, and it's going to be very satisfying.
Cool, looking forward to that.
I was responsible for all the effects on the crates and the shader for the different materials as well. So I did the way the silver looks and the bronze and the rust and the gold and the diamond and the plutonium, and all the effects when you hover over it.
Yep, I'm doing that now.
The energy emanating out of the crate becomes more epic the more higher up the crate is, and the same when you set it off. When you click it, that's why the rusty crate just sort of has a puff of dust, and the plutonium crate has this big sort of purple explosion. And then when each of the loot pieces come down and they hit the floor, there's some sparks that bounce out. I was responsible for all of those, and then whenever you hover over a piece of loot, there's an initial pop effect, and then there's a lingering looping effect. White was very basic, blue was electricity, green was smoke.
Yes, I'm seeing the smoke on the green now, it's pretty cool.
Purple was a sort of magic-y, mystical fire, and then epic is, or legendary is a big old explosion.
Yes.
Big roaring orange fire with the embers pouring out the top.
See, now if the gods had liked us, I would have had one of each of those in this crate, and then I could have seen
Yes.
it. But unfortunately, I've just got electricity and smoke at the moment.
Okay.
So you were responsible also for the effects, if I believe, with the shipwrecked event, which I know was extremely popular amongst the community. Yeah, tell us about a bit about that process, if you can.
Yeah, it's kind of funny actually. I actually did most of the work for it in my lunch break. As it wasn't a last minute thing, but we have like a cost for production. So it's depending on how sizable the event is. You know, like Christmas or something or Halloween, we could put in a lot more man hours. And it was obviously before we had Brawl and stuff, so it's a bit of a throwaway event, as you will. It wasn't a massive occasion, so we don't have the excuse to invest too many man hours into something. And I just sort of demoed this effect on my lunch break, I used well, obviously a cannonball, and then I added a sort of cyan glowing strip down the middle, sort of Tron-esque, and then an explosion with some fragments over my lunch break. And I said to the team, what do you think of this for the shipwrecked event? Since we're slowing down the projectiles, and you got this big lingering sort of Tron cannonball as it goes off, and they were like, no, that's really awesome. So the team then decided to invest the time to implement those correctly, since I went to the effort of making the effect, and everybody on the forums on Reddit exploded, and they said they really liked the effect.
Yeah, I
really
remember.
liked the event, but it was just something I did out of my own free will on my lunch break, because I wanted to try and do something for the event, and we didn't have the man hours to invest, so I tried to do it myself.
That must have been quite rewarding then. And you also work on the Halloween stuff and all this creepy effects with the portraits and other things, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, I actually was one of the portraits.
Yes, what an honour.
But yeah, so we did obviously the laughing skulls for the Aeroflak. Flak.
Oh yeah.
And hidden within the Aeroflak explosion was an evil face in the smoke of the explosion. I've got some footage of that as well, because most people missed that. That was one of these little hidden things. And we added a different trails to that, and then we had all the pumpkins and stuff within the mothership, and a big one was changing all the loot crates to be pumpkins.
Oh yeah, because you pretty much had to rework the whole
Yeah,
whole
pretty
thing
much.
from the base up, I guess.
That was entirely me, except for Hannah, our female artist, worked on the actual pumpkins themselves, and did the textures for the pumpkins and the eyes. And I did all the there's like a well of souls that circles underneath the pumpkins, and then when you click on them, with Simone's audio, they're sort of screaming, you get these souls that escape from the loot crate and shoot up into the sky.
That was cool, yeah.
But it was really good fun.
Must be a bit difficult to make it fresh every year though, but you still got another couple of months.
Yeah, that's true. But no, in all honesty, I don't really mind people asking me questions, no matter how repetitive or silly they are, because at the end of the day, I'm not trying to brown nose and be the almighty loved dev, but I just genuinely do like engaging with the community. So
Yeah, nobody will ever be dropping.
well, that's entirely true.
No
but,
more tears.
I would
Not even worth
I'd never
trying.
try and take his place, but I love engaging with the community, and also the respect that the community has for the devs. It's nice when you say something in chat and then all of a sudden everybody lights up because there's a dev in the lobby.
Yeah.
It makes you feel special.
Well, you are special. And the majority of people don't go on the forums and who aren't part of the community, but are actually very favourable and positive, but you never hear from them, do you? But it must be very rewarding work, because you get this kind of feedback. I mean, in my own job I don't get any feedback, it's sort of just out there, and but at least you get some sort of user feedback with your kind of industry.
Yeah, true. Prior to this, I did a graphic design for exhibitions. So I used to do all the big 10-meter banners on the front of the NIA and
nice.
the NEC and stuff like that. And I did some banners along the side of some tennis tournaments and artwork for Roger Federer and Andrew Murray.
Cool.
We did some military things, and then other more boring stuff like the National Baby Show and the National Wedding Show and stuff. But again, so people see this artwork that you've done that stretches 15 meters across the side of a building, but no one ever says, "Oh, great job on that artwork."
No.
It's just sort of something that people go, "Oh yeah, wedding show, we're here," and then that's it. So it's a nice change.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But I've been in the games industry now for about 4 years,
Okay.
4 or 5 years. So I'm by no means a veteran, but every now and then I like to think I sometimes know what I'm doing.
So yeah, I just wanted to thank you for popping along. Feel
No,
free
not a problem
to
about it.
drop me a message and hang out with us whenever you fancy it. Yeah, much appreciated. And yeah, we'll look forward to all those things that you mentioned that should be coming up soon. And yeah, I mean, it's such a pretty game. It really is.
Thank you. No, I've had a great time. Like I said, I always enjoy engaging with the community. Big props to the Slave One that you made me. I really appreciate that.
Oh yeah.
And it's nice to hear positive feedback and appreciation for the stuff we do, because although we might make changes that annoy people, I can promise you, unbiased, that the team really does work hard and puts a lot of passion into the games, and we all enjoy doing so. So it's great fun for me to make explosions for a living.
make things go boom boom.
So,
Very good.
No, thank you for having me.
No, it's a pleasure.